Hi and welcome to another video in our series of product demos and useful hints and tips. This one is about Anaplan and the use of filters. I really can't stress just how powerful these are. I use them in pretty much every single implementation that I work on, and if possible I could do a whole series of these videos just based around the use of filters. But in the interests of keeping this to a nice 5-minute snippet that you can dive in and see what you can do, I'm going to focus on the fairly universal use case, which is looking at filters and filtering time against actuals and forecast, so time and versions. So in the spirit of Blue Peter, here's one I made earlier. I'm using a simple P&L module, and you can see here I've just got the default view, which is what you're just looking at now. So I've got one calendar year. My current period is set to March 17, and I've set the timescale to show me quarters and an FY17 item here at the end. So I'm just going to take you through the filters that I've set up so that I can demo this functionality to you. The first one is something called actual periods only, so fairly self-explanatory, does exactly what it says on the tin. January, February, March, no totals, no quarter totals or anything in there, purely the items themselves. The filter, as are all of the filters on this particular demo that I'm showing you, is set up against another module, so an assumption based module that I've got completely calculation driven. So once you've got it set up, there's absolutely no maintenance whatsoever. And you can see that the filtering on the time is using that assumptions module. It's called calendar and version assumptions. It's just over here. I'll show you in a moment. And it's where an item called actual periods is set to tick. So let's have a look at what that's doing. So over here in calendar and version assumptions, as I said, you'll see there are a number of line items, but they're all calculation driven. So as I said, once they're set up, you can just forget about them and they'll look after themselves. So that actual periods, you can see tick, 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 just in Jan, Feb, Mar, and the formula very straightforward. Tick if the start of the period is less than or equal to current period start, and that's it. So as you go through each month end and you roll your current period forward in the time settings, this will automatically update. Whilst we're here, I may as well show you forecast periods, because as you can see, it does the reverse, and that's based on the start of the period being greater than the current period start. So sure enough, back here, I can show you in the filter where the forecast period is equal to tick. So no maintenance, completely self-regulating. Let's have a look at something a little bit different. So as you saw on both of those previous views, the Boolean, unless I set something on the summary option, won't automatically show me the summary items. So for example, in this instance, quarters and the full year. Now what I could do, I'll just demo it on the actual line, is over here on the summary. I could say if any of the items are ticked, you should put a tick in the summary. That's what that means. So now if I come back here, you'll see that's ticked and also that's ticked. So if I come back and show you my actual view now, there you go. You'll see the quarter 1 tick and the full year 17 tick. If I want to get a bit smarter, and I've seen this done, or I've been requested, can I do this in a number of implementations, where for example you may only want the quarter but you don't want the full year 17, or if you're using it all periods. So yes, I have done a view like that. You can see here only the quarters but not the full year. And the way I've gone about doing that is I've created a line item in my assumptions module called all periods numeric, and I've said here show me anywhere where that item is less than or equal to 3. So how does that work? Well, it's just set to 1. It's hard coded. And of course, because I'm looking at quarters, I know that my quarters can only ever add up to 3, whereas my full year or all periods or anything else will be greater than 3. Therefore, if I only want to see my quarters, I can go with the logic, show me where that numeric line is less than or equal to 3. So, you know, you can get clever, you can get really creative. Details in year, so you'll see there no quarters, just the year. And again, this is using that all periods numeric, but again, just thinking about the logic. So here, show items that match any of the following. In case you weren't aware, you've got any or all, but I want any. So where it's either equal to 1 or where it's equal to 12. Then I know in that instance, any full year total will be 12. I have 12 periods in my year, and any detail will be 1. So again, just thinking a bit creatively, and I can really get exactly what I want with these filters. And then last but not least, I've got something called periods by version. So I'm now actually looking at the interaction between versions and time. So you'll notice actual shows me January, February, March. Forecast shows me April to December. So I'm actually getting a different shot of the data depending on the version I'm looking at. And how have I got that? I have a line item in my assumption, periods by version. How is that working? Here you'll see I'm using the if is actual version command. You've also got if is current version. So obviously that looks at whatever you've got marked as the current version in your versions in settings. But I've said if is actual version, then actual periods. Otherwise, forecast periods. So hence I've now got something that's a little bit different depending on the version I'm looking at. These are all then saved. As you've seen, they're all dynamic. You've seen that by when I changed the summary option on the actual version. So whether I'm looking at that here or I publish it to a dashboard, I don't need to think about maintenance anymore. So that's just a really, really quick snippet on filters using time and version as an example. As I've said, I could make this so much more detailed. You could have a whole series of videos just on this. They're extremely powerful. And as you've seen, you don't have to be limited just by ticks or non-ticks. Think about numeric data. Can that help you achieve a very bespoke view? So I hope you found that useful. If you would like to see any of our other videos, you can find all of our product demos on our YouTube channel, that's Innovar Limited, or on our website, innovar.co.uk.